We are, except, okay. Yes, we are live. Okay. Hi, guys. Hello, everybody, to our second Flow State Saturday. We're still figuring out how to use the technology. You know, as they say, first is worst, but hopefully we're getting better with this. So it's me, Brian Muka, and Dr. Jake Felice that will be helping you get into flow state today and just talking all things flow state. So Brian Muka is an ex-bomb technician. He did some really cool things, detonating bombs underwater as a diver. He's also a leadership coach right now, an advisor, and basically a flow state apprentice slash naturally born knowing how to do these kind of things. And Dr. Jake Felice is a naturopathic doctor. He's also a flow state apprentice, but a little bit more of an expert than the two of us. And he's also into longevity medicine and end of life support. And I'm Magdalena. I'm a certified health coach. I'm transitioning more into life coaching and spiritual coaching as well. And I'm really passionate about flow state because that's naturally how I started living my life when I started going more from the head into my heart. And I will add one more thing about all three of us is that we all like to do activities and sports that get us into flow state. For me, it's dancing. So I do something called free flow dance that involves dancing with wings and like silk fans and flags. And Dr. Jake likes to surf. He rides the waves of the ocean as he's also riding the waves of life. And Brian Muka is into hydrofoil. So, you know, out in the ocean on the water, zipping through the ocean. It's not with a kite, right? Is it, Brian?
Is with I do it with a kite. Yep.
You use it with a kite. Okay, so it's like kite surfing, but on a hydrofoil. All right, so I'm just going to do a little bit of a grounding, heart opening exercise with you, super short, and then we'll get into the conversation. And it's 12:12 here in 1 minute Mountain Standard Time. 12:12 to me signifies optimism, faith, and new beginnings. So let us begin. So I like doing this exercise where you can close your eyes or keep them open, but I find closing eyes keeps your energy centered within you, keeps the prana in, and then you can put attention on the bottoms of your feet just so you feel really grounded. You can be sitting or standing. And as you do this, just imagine a beautiful ball of golden light, of source energy, your higher self, coming down through the top of your head, through your crown chakra, down your third eye, into your throat chakra, and just going down through your body. And let it go down all the way through your stomach, your legs, to your feet. But then put your attention as the light is covering your entire body or infiltrating it, put your attention on your heart. And then imagine this ball, this energy of golden light just radiating out of your heart like a Care Bear. And as you do that, put your arms out as if you're pushing the walls to your left and to your right away from you, pushing the walls out. And as you do that, imagine your aura expanding. So as far out as you can possibly imagine. And if you were to spin around like this with your arms out, you would be creating a whole big circle of auric light around you, which is your own aura coming from source energy. So as you're in this state, just take a deep breath in and sigh it out. And just keep imagining your aura being expanded. We are all becoming energy balls.
And for those of you whose primary gift is not visualization, just start to feel your heart beating. The way this chair feels as you sit on it, how the sound resonates in your skull. Use your other senses, whatever those are. It could be sound, it could be feeling, smells. And I know it's annoying for folks that they get frustrated with visualization. And so if you want to rub your hands together or more tactile, start to hear the sounds in the room. The goal right now, if you don't visualize, is just to be fully present in this moment. And bonus points if you can track your breath and start to feel when your heart is beating, and most importantly, the space in between the heartbeats is where time gets to dilate. So the more I can concentrate, not just on the pulsing, but also the space in between is the space in between that we are going in this flow state today.
Yeah, the space in between the heartbeats, I imagine it as being like the fertile void and this really rich silence. It's not a silence of nothingness, but it's a silence of where endless possibility exists, and that fertile void where anything can be created, kind of like how the universe was created from nothingness, but then everything came from it. That's what's in between your heartbeats. So now you can put your hands on your heart so you can really feel grounded in it. If you can actually put your hands on your heart, like touching your skin, then that's best. Since I'm live, I'm just going to put it on top of my shirt. And then you can look up to the sky, like just look up and have a straight posture. So you're erect. And then you can open up your arms like this, like in the cactus pose, if you can see my hands like this. And then you're just feeling again your heart very, very open. And just stay like this for a couple breaths. And then you can smile. Big smile or gentle little smile. And then you can open your eyes and come back to center.
And just pause a couple breaths doing nothing. And then my favorite part here is to smirk a little. Not a smirk, but like a soul smile, actually. And holy moly, did I need that. We're talking a little bit in the green room. We were a couple minutes behind schedule. As a military guy, that drives me crazy. And then also the patience required to learn how to connect all the trains to the station in the back office of Riverside. Took me a little more brain power. And I can't tell you how valuable it is to have done that reset and just let it all wash away. So, if you're watching this week, maybe you're not live with us right now. That's all right. This is how we're kind of sharing with the world, and it's an easier way for us to make content while we're with you, imagining we're with you. But also, like, this is a good spot. What Magdalena just brilliantly did. If you're having some stress in your life and you're a little fried, like my RAM, I exceeded my RAM ability, and I always wish that I could go from 5 watts of power to 7.5. That would change everything, but maybe it would blow out my brain. These are things I think about.
A free
And
upgrade.
we'll clip this particular part because I thought that was incredibly nourishing to get back into eustress from. I was in a state of distress coming on to the call today. So feel free to use the chat. This is why we're doing it live. So we want to interact with you. And if you're not watching this live, still make comments on it. We'll see it because it'll be live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever your favorite channel is. And so
yeah, so please, if you've got live questions, we'd love to do our best.
that's all you can do, right? Is your best.
So, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I've given this a little bit of thought, right? So this week I was watching Travis Rice do amazing things in Alaska. He took this 20-year-old, 20 plus, Alaska big mountain skiing for the first time, and she was completely overwhelmed. And Travis Rice is the man when it comes to. He's like Kai Lenny, if you know that in the surfing world, about doing
Oh yeah,
360, 720.
genius. He pushes. He's not he's not satisfied just with conventional surfing, Kai Lenny.
Yeah, he stood on the shoulders of Laird Hamilton and that crew, and then he's really playing.
Yeah.
He did big mountain skiing, snowboarding actually with Travis. So he was learning how to. He was a white belt when it comes to snow sports, but he's not when it comes to liquid water. So those two cross pollinated, and it was just really cool. And I'm going to tie this into work in a second, right? So when we say flow state, the big idea here is like flow state's not reserved for the transformer squirrel suit flyers, the guys living in Moab.
Right.
It's not just for the tier one operator. They're like, I need to get in the flow state. Like, you have access to this now. And so, whether it's through spirituality, whether it's through physical
designed for
practice,
flow.
indeed. And so, like, it's our goal to help you find your particular entry point in the flow. And so, in this particular story, Travis takes this woman, and she's kind of like down on herself, right? Because like it's overwhelming. It's the hardest snowboarding she's ever done. He's like, it's a train park. She's like, I don't spend much time in the train park. So that metaphor didn't work. So he's teaching her how to ride these spires in Alaska. And she gets done her first one, and she's like, man, I was blown out on that. And he looks at her, and he's like, enough excuses, and you're the first woman ever here. And the story of being the first woman to ever do this completely changed the game. So what stories are we telling ourselves? And I think Dr. Jake is a world-class mythos. What is the story meaning? And I think we're well coded to accept stories as a way to advance our intelligence, our wisdom, our abilities. So
Yeah.
I just want to open up to maybe story time. And
yeah, and the story, when the stories don't match, my experience with what is going on doesn't match with what actually is going on. We had some technical trouble beforehand here. We had this idea of going live on time, and this is our second time through and first time live for many of us, and the stories weren't matching. So you get this dissonance or this discord, and the verbal chatter, uh, it divides our nervous system. Our nervous system is fighting against us. We do this all the time. We fight against ourselves all the time, whether it be, I have patients and they'll look at that cream donut and say, should I eat it? I'm trying to be on a diet. Should I eat that? Oh, I'm really having some sugar cravings. Or this woman, I don't recall her name. If you said it, Brian, with Travis, she was supposed to be having a certain experience that she was expecting to be having. And then in the end, she finished it. And Travis said, oh, by the way, you're the first. And that totally integrated everything and set the tone for her. I don't know if there's more to that story, but this dissonance or discord in our nervous system and flow states are one of the best ways to unify our nervous system and get rid of discord, clear the channel.
It's
her
12
name
here.
yeah, it's 222 here in the diving world. That's important, right? 222 on the line signal. So like I'm connected to a line doing dangerous stuff underwater. I would send a 2 and a 2 and a 2 when I need you. Flow is a team sport. And you can get there by yourself. Man, it's so much more fun with your friends. Something about mirror neurons and breathing together. I'm going to put this into the chat if you guys are interested. I'm just going to copy this. It's Travis Rice. I just like being around his stuff because he's in flow a lot, doing seemingly dangerous things, but he just does it with so much swagger and competent. Like he's a competent man, so much so that it's infectious to those around him. And Estelle Pincero, hopefully I said your name right, Estelle. But just an incredible like way of we had a debate before about whether like I need to be fear free before I can get into a flow state, and I found the opposite to be true. You get there both ways, and so this is her standing on the edge of the world, and she full fucking sends it on this, like beyond her previous abilities, her knowing of actually where her skills are, and by being around other experts and creating the set and setting and the container, the altar for this, she felt safe to go for it. The helicopter crews there, they had their avalanche stuff. So everything, they kind of made a plan. I'm going to talk about fear setting with Tim Ferriss a little bit today too. I think this is interesting. But it's just, what are the elements to really go for it? And having somebody on the other end of my line allows me to full send. And it's really hard to do that if I'm free
Yeah.
soloing my life.
And there's, with the sphere element, as Brian mentioned, there has to be, for there to be flow, you have to have developed some skill already. So we all have skill. We all do things that are skillful. But this woman was not a beginner snowboarder. She had already had some accomplishments in the world of snowboarding. And so when the nervous system goes into flow, if there is not enough skill, or if there's too much fear, it makes it challenging. But what she did was she pushed her limits, because our limits are a lot of the times way further than we think they are.
I love that. And Jesse Itzler, he's an entrepreneurial hero of mine. Zico Coconut Water is one of his businesses, either NetJets or Marquee Jets. He's married to Sarah Blakely. You may know him that way. He lived with David Goggins for 30 days. So he calls him the SEAL. And so SEAL comes to live with him for 30 days. It's 4:30 in the morning. He like Jesse can feel his presence while he's sleeping peaceably next to his wife. And Goggins goes, "Wake up, motherfucker." And so Jesse gets up, it's first day, and he's like, "We're going to do pull ups." So he goes downstairs in his basement or wherever his pull up bar is. He does 5 or 7. He's like, "I say 5 or 7, but I did 3, really." And he's like, "Get back up there." Does 2 more. He's like, "Get back up there." He does 1. "Now what, SEAL?" He goes, I don't know what you think you're doing. You're not leaving that pull up bar till you do 100. It took him an hour and a half or whatever it was, but he did it. So our brains tell us that at 40% capacity, we're smoked. That's it. There's still 60% left, right? And so I like watching like the 14 peaks with NIMS, right? Mission, nothing is impossible. Mission possible was his, and he climbed with his team. He did the 14 highest peaks in the Himalayas in 9 months. And so when he pitched this, I love this. It's on Netflix. It's like world changing. And I'm getting to a particular story. But like just to put that in perspective, the next closest was 9 years. It took 9 years to do all 14. He's like, I'm gonna make a movie about it. We're gonna flashpoint this in 9 months. And the producers laughed him out of the office. So he found a way, did whatever the fuck was in front of him to get to do that. And so relatively, that would be like running a marathon in about 7 minutes. That's what he was promising to do. And so you should watch it. In the they have just a couple days left before the 9 month window, and the weather comes in. And I think he manifested a break in the weather. Like this is the Mandela Cascade when everybody believes and everybody's pulling the oars in the same frequency. They changed the weather. And he's like, when you feel like you're fucked, you're only 30% of the way fucked. Like even he's saying that there's a reserve capacity. And he was a SAS guy, right? So Special Air Service. One of the few Nepalese that screened and made it to SAS or SBS. That's a big honor to be a Gurkha and then to be a British SAS or SBS operator. This is an insane story. So I like cherry picking these ideas, right? That's the F1 race car. That's the technology being developed on the International Space Station. So what? What can we do here? And so just if I just remember when shift, sometimes it's shit. When shift is hitting the fan, and I'm like, I'm fucked. You're not. You're not. You have so much more capacity. I keep relearning that there's more. And if I feel uncomfortable, just get used to in the habit. If I can make this a habit, I feel uncomfortable. Good. I am now part of the white space in the map that's never been filled in before. Right? Like Lewis and Clark, when they were mapping North America, they didn't have a map. They were making it. They didn't have a sat phone. They were, they didn't have any of that. And they still intrepidly discovered North America. So if you find yourself like
And
go ahead.
oh, I was going to say, and they reached a limit that was, they were on the Columbia, and They were on the Columbia, just right at the border of Washington and Oregon, a couple of miles before they reached the Pacific Ocean, and they didn't know how much further they had to go. There's a place on the water on the Washington side called Dismal Niche, where their canoes, there was a big storm that came through, and they almost capsized, and the whole expedition was almost lost right before they reached their goal. And yet they regrouped and they made it through.
It's a common theme in these incredible adventures. They have the oh fuck moment. And
So
let me just share this, and it's yours. I think the oh fuck moments, this is my personal opinion, and I can't prove the math on this. I think they're divinely appointed, like to create a mission impossible, to bring out the superpowers. I think that's also part of flow.
actually, okay, so it's interesting. Now I actually have two things to say that I meant to say earlier, but we kind of veered off the tangent. So I will go back to the other thing I wanted to say, which relates to what you just said about the superpower, is when you were talking about the stories that we tell ourselves. So I don't know if you noticed this, but perhaps you have like a common theme story in your life. And I feel a lot of people do, around maybe like being a victim, or around, my story was around powerlessness. Or you could have a story around being angry, like having a lot of anger. So you know what's amazing? On the other side of that, when you transcend it and you transmute it and you alchemize that, you actually get the opposite of it. So for me, the powerlessness is because I actually have so much power in me, but I needed to go through like that shadow self to get to the other side, to see how much power I actually have within myself. If you have a lot of hatred, it means that you have such a huge capacity to love and a huge capacity for compassion. So almost you can be grateful for your stories if you haven't transmuted them. And we can talk about how to do that. It's not very difficult, actually. It's quite simple. But if you haven't gone through that process, just know that if you feel all that, that means you also have the capability to be the complete opposite of that, in like the superpower way, in a positive way. So that's a really cool thing. So don't get down on yourself if you're like, oh, I always have these negative stories. It's good. That means you're going to get to a place where you're going to be on the other end of the spectrum. And obviously, you know, life isn't linear. We have our ups and downs, and we can dip back into the story when, you know, throughout life. But I feel like for me, I used to live in a state of powerlessness, and now I more consistently live in a state where I feel like I have power. And it's not like a, you know, it's like a power through being connected to the divine and through being connected to my inner wisdom, which ties into the second thing I wanted to say, is when you guys were talking about the, you know, navigating. One way, yes, some people like discipline. I'm not like that. I achieve so much more, and I tap into my strength way better when I'm actually not disciplining myself. And I guess we should probably define what discipline is. But for me, success, or like achieving a lot, is by tapping into my inner wisdom, that inner compass that guides me. So like Dr. Jake was saying, right before they reached the land, there was like a massive breakdown, but they figured it out. And so when you keep tuning into your inner wisdom, and again, to me, it's like tuning into like the collective consciousness, the one source energy that knows everything, that created you, that created everything. And if you live in tandem with that and in co-creation with that, life is so effortless. Like I do things where I'm like, how did I even do that? It didn't feel like effort. I didn't have to discipline myself into it. It just happened because I was riding the wave. Kind of like, again, you're a surfer. Can you imagine how much effort it would take to swim back to shore? Or you could catch the wave and just get on the wave and ride it to the shore. That's how I feel.
Can you tell the story about Upwork?
Oh yeah, so this was a cool story. Maybe that he's watching, I don't know. But you know, so we're starting to share what we want to do because we really want to impact people. And sometimes in the beginning, we're like, we don't even know where to start. How do we get the word out? But it's like one thing at a time. So we thought, let's just do these Flow State Saturdays. And so Brian created an invite on LinkedIn to invite people to come to Flow State Saturdays. So I was inviting people. It's so like quick and easy to invite mindlessly. You just click on invite to get people to come. And I invited like around 400 people. Like I was just like clicking. And but I was in this like flow state, in a state of openness and like, just like, let's see what happens. Like, even if no one shows up, it's all good. I wasn't attached to anything. And as I was going through the invites, for some reason, and I don't even know why, I wasn't looking at anyone's names. I was just like peripheral vision, like kind of saw, but barely. And for some reason, my eyes just like drew my attention to a specific name. That name is Anthony Kappas. And I was like, Anthony Kappas? I'm like, I know that guy, but I knew him from like years back. I haven't talked to him in years. So, and then beside his name, it said Upwork, and he's the CEO of Upwork. And I was like, what the heck? Like,
Imagine that.
I'm like inviting the CEO of Upwork to come join our Flow State Saturdays. Anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. That like, why did my eyes get drawn to his name specifically? Anyway, Upwork is a really big company. It's kind of like Fiverr, but different. And so I actually messaged him and I was like, how does it feel to be the head honcho of such a successful big company? He never wrote back. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, maybe he's watching, maybe he isn't. I don't know.
You never
I thought
know.
it was really amazing. And
Yeah.
then it brought back memories to other people that I knew around that time that I knew him. And anyway, maybe we'll reconnect and maybe we won't. But I was just like, that's interesting. Why did my eyes, out of 400 people, be drawn to that one person, you know? And that he happened to be the CEO
Yeah,
of
so
yeah.
I have some thoughts on that. If you don't mind me sharing, you mentioned the love-hate thing and the not empowered versus great power. And again, this goes back to that theme of dissonance. When the stories of the nervous system are split, we get this dissonance. And you talked about transmuting them, so changing that. And we have to remember our nervous systems were designed in a very different planet than what we're living in now. We were Paleolithic hunter-gatherers, and we not only had to have these superordinate senses to us, not only just of vision, but of smell and of hearing, and teamwork. So the idea that this is supernatural, for me, how I think of it is that nature is super and that we have this as our birthright of humans. And the Chinese have this idea in traditional Chinese medicine. I'm conventionally trained, but I have a deep respect for the traditional Chinese medicine. The liver, when the liver is not healthy, one of the expressions is anger. Anger is very strong energy, but when the liver is integrated or not in dissonance, that changes into determination. And Magdalena mentioned this idea of discipline. In many ways, David Goggins is not in dissonance. We may think of him as being disciplined, but he is being driven by something else, whether it be a goal or his inner wisdom. And when we go into flow states, part of what's happening in these extreme flow states from extreme sports, or if you've ever been in an accident where things went quiet and into slow motion, the verbal chatter of our brain gets turned off, and that allows us to listen to a different part of ourselves when we are in flow. And a lot of these people in extreme situations will have this kind of a whisper. And I'll leave it with one more thing. The Greeks had this concept of genius as a whisper, that's something that whispers into your mind, and that the people who were geniuses could hear that quiet, still, small voice.
Oh, I love that, Dr. Jake. I love the way you describe that. I have a story, but Brian, if you want to say something.
Yeah, just a quick share. And so I want to highlight something I noticed with Magdalena. And so if you go back and you watch, like, don't you have a story from Upwork? Your whole thing, everything just perked up, right? And so we got in. I'm a frequency guy. So originally as a musician, now in the quantum physics, if you want to call it that, or spiritual metaphysics. Finding that when I get into these higher energetic states, I've accessed better information. We just watched that. Two things from yesterday. I have my Weirdos and World Changers dojo. Friday's Fuck Yeah Friday. And one of the guys is like, what are your wins? He goes, I don't have any. I'm like, "Did you pay your mortgage?" He goes, "Oh yeah." It was his first mortgage payment. He goes, "And easily," right? Like he was like so stressed. He's 6 hours in the future. It was like 4 o'clock his time when we had this conversation, or 3 o'clock his time. He was stuck. And I got the gratitude for a major win that he had, right? He manifested his house, easily paid his mortgage, and then he had 6 more. And then yesterday I was picking up Chinese food because I didn't feel like cooking, and I had this video challenge that I was trying to solve, and potentially it was like a $1,200 thing. I'm like, oh, I could just have the stream come up in the space next to me in post production, and I can do the same exact thing because I made these beautiful handwritten notes, and I went to share those while I'm educating and teaching, and I was like, it was whispered. And when you said the genius is whispered, it was inaudible, and I was watching the night trees go past my eyes. I really like eye work for getting into flow. So if I can start to notice the colors, that's a great. If I can zoom in, that's usually pretty good. I can zoom out and look at the stars. But when I'm driving or I'm walking, especially like shooting video in nature, because you get to see the trees kind of come by. And there's something really therapeutic of like moving through together whilst walking. We're walking through our traumas and also the hunter gatherer eyes. So we're trained to focus on this, and that's only one of a dozen different eye skills that we have. When I can zoom out and notice everything, there's a higher probability to be in flow because now I'm fully immersed in the environment, and especially when the trees are going by, it like massages the brain in a really interesting way. That's what I find.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is so fascinating to me because sorry, can I just tell the little 2 stories I wanted to
Look how excited you are.
Yeah.
Whoever's most excited goes next.
because I was like, okay, Brian, you can budge in front of me, you can talk, but I'm next. It's so hard when there's 3 of us and we all have so much to share. Okay, this is so interesting, and I feel like I have something to say, and then right before I want to say it, Brian says something at the tail end of his story, and then I have the other thing come up. So when you literally described how I got into flow state this one particular time, and I was literally sitting here. So what happened is it was my parents' anniversary. It was their 40th, and I decided I write poems sometimes, but I realize now that they're always just channeled. When I try to force them, I can't. But when they just get written,
can you define channel really quick?
Channel to me means when I'm in flow state. So I'm not thinking about it. I'm not like in my head. I'm just like allowing the energy and the inspiration. Like I'll feel the inspiration and then I'll write it. But if I don't feel the inspiration, it's really hard for me to do it. However, so this is what happened. So I was inspired to write a poem for my parents' 40th anniversary. But I was like, man, I can't do this on my own because I wanted to do it in Polish as well. So I asked if my sister and my brother would help me do it. And in my mind, this was like, we have months to do this. We'll go back and forth. And I was actually sick at the time. And actually when I'm sick, it's great because I get a lot of things done internally and I access that silence and that quiet voice a lot because I just sit at home by myself with myself, right? So anyway, it was one of those moments. And then I sat here and I was looking out. This is the view I was looking at right here, the tree.
Oh, yeah.
The nature. Okay, so I was sitting here first, so I wasn't looking out in the beginning because I was like, okay, I want to try and write this poem. And I was sitting here and I couldn't. Like I was sitting here with a notepad and nothing was coming. And I was like, dang it, because I feel the inspiration, but I can't seem to do it. So then I was like, you know what? It's okay. We have months to get this done. I wanted to like start it and then send it to my siblings so that they could help me out. And then I had this quiet voice be like, just let it go and just like look out the window. And so I stared at that tree and the bush for 5 minutes. I just looked out, and what you just explained, what you described, Brian, literally explained what happened. And I didn't know that that's why I ended up being able to pour the poem out of me. So, okay, so I was staring outside, and then I was like, suddenly I was like relaxed and my nervous system kind of calmed down, and my attachment to creating this whole poem, I let go. And suddenly I was like, oh, I feel something coming. So I started writing, and I wrote like 4 lines, and then I wrote another 4 lines. And you guys, within 15 minutes or 10 minutes, I wrote a 3-page poem. I wrote the entire thing in Polish. I sent it to my siblings. That's and I'm amazing. Like, can you guys edit it? Or like, if you have anything to add. So they added a few lines, but the thing just came out like through me. by me staring and just being quiet and letting go of the outcome. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yes.
And this is how I write poems now. Actually, it's like a system of like, okay, I'll be quiet. If it comes out, it comes, and if it doesn't, I'm not going to force it.
Just want to highlight an example, right? So for the analytical, logical people watching this on LinkedIn, that's like maybe 30 hours compressed into 15 minutes.
Literally.
Right? It's like I
Great.
feel like I connect into this cosmic outlet. It has both power and information. And it's I call it the epiphany frequency. And it's each person has a particular entry point into that. Sometimes it's jumping out of airplanes or big wave surfing or dancing. But sometimes it's just like closing my eyes and like going inside of the Pyramid of Giza. I travel there a lot. And I astral project. You mentioned channeling. Free writing is a great way to get into flow. I'm super visual. I see things, and I have my whole life. And so, I'll spin the Merkaba and I'll teleport to inside or on top of the pyramid, the Sphinx, and just I start to take in earth energy from those places. And it's incredible what then I see there. Like that's the first phase. And then the second phase, the sacred geometry or the engineering, the quantum mechanics starts coming through for me by changing my environment. Even though my physical environment's the same. So if I'm stuck somewhere, I did this a lot in Catholic school, I would visualize playing outside when I was stuck in my seat. And yet another bit of gratitude for my Catholic school upbringing that I hated. I hated it in the moment, and I needed it for grit, and I also needed it to cultivate my energetic gifts as well.
Love it. Tapping into the
So that's a kind of a trauma. That Catholic school. We got to rewrite it. Yeah, you got to rewrite it.
Yeah.
Let me talk. I want to go back to what Brian said and maybe try and tie it in with what Magdalena said. Brian was talking about being a musician and utilizing frequency. And when you're a and I'm an amateur musician. I play flute. I like folk music. I like gospel because it's so darn easy. I don't play classical. Play a little bit of jazz. Not good, but it's flow. And when we are hardwired for music, I'm not going to do it, but there's a story. I guess I am going to do it. There's a story of a lovely lady who was bringing up, and we all know the lyrics. So we're hardwired for music. That's why you know the lyrics of not hundreds, but thousands of songs that you have never studied for. And you can hear a song that you heard 40 years ago if you're that old, and it will bring you right back. So we're hardwired for music. And when we listen to music, or even especially when we play music or when we dance, we access these flow states. And the verbal chatter comes down and our listening gets tuned up. And what Magdalena was doing was, so the cranial nerves are very important in flow. What Magdalena was doing when she was scanning her hundreds of contacts and getting into a flow state, the vibration of upwork, just it wasn't a dissonance, but it was a frequency that pulled her in and was like, oh my gosh, I know this guy. And she picked a needle out of a haystack. So when you're channeling poems in flow, our verbal chatter comes down and we are able to access these lyrics or voices that kind of feel like something is coming through us. And for me, that's the power of the universe. That's the power of nature. And they happen a lot of the time, Brian used the word senses, through cranial nerves, sense of smell. I mentioned last week, brings you back to grandma's. I know what the smell of my grandmother's meatballs taste like. I know that. I remember that. The sound with music, touch, and sexual ecstasy can bring us into flow state. And of course, hearing. And in our culture, we're extremely visual. So we're deprived in these other senses. So we can bring these into play.
You guys, can I read you, as Dr. Ake was talking, I was like, can I read you my poem that I wrote? It's called Channeling. And
can I share one thing really quickly in that?
Totally.
So in that, it doesn't even matter if you're good at making music. It doesn't matter. And so what I'd like to do first, and I think we'll be in a much better energetic state to receive your poetry. So I'm going to come up to your level of epiphany in this. I feel called to lead some breath, and the exhale will just be either humming or singing. So if you're watching this and you're in a place where you can do that, please. People spend a lot of money on nitric oxide increasers. The little blue pill mimics what our nose and sound frequency produces. It's a 15x increase in nitric oxide, which is a powerful vasodilator. It gets us into a really relaxed state. So let's do that. And then after, I would love to enjoy your poetry, if that sounds good. Does that feel right?
Brian, what are you going to do? Explain to me a little bit more about what you're going to do.
Yeah, so we're just going to breathe in through the nose for 6 counts. So, and then out for 12. Just do like 4 of those. So that'll be like a minute and a half, something like that.
So we don't hold our breath at the top. We just inhale.
No, in, and then the whole point is to hum. And bonus points.
Hey, would you mind if I tried to match your voice with my magic flute here?
I would love that.
I'll try and get your key. I'll try and get your key, but if I can't get it, I'll put it up.
I can.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
All right, so we're not going to do 4, we're going to do 8 because this is going to be really fun, and I'm looking forward to singing harmony with you. So this is all trail magic happening right
I'll match
now.
your voice. So you do what is natural for you, and I'll try and find it. And if we're out of key, you can come up or down a little.
Sounds good. You guys ready?
So you can either hum or sing it out. Whatever.
And bonus points, if you put your teeth together, the sound will travel up into the cranial nerve. It's really nice. You guys ready?
So you suggest people either hum or sing it out, or only hum?
Yeah, sing along. Sing along if you feel called. If you don't feel comfortable singing, hum. Hum is the alternative in this. Okay, you guys ready? So breathe in. And again. And in. Last one. And then just take a deep breath in. Squeeze it to your face. And sometimes I can use breath retentions and squeezes to induce more of the dimethyltryptophan. I have a little bit of it right now. I have a microdose of DMT that the body can make through the lungs.
Oh, so you squeeze and that builds up a little pressure in the cranium, clamps down on the pineal gland, and a little DMT hits the bloodstream. I need to put a little more pressure in my face there then next time.
Well, yeah, so it's moving the creation, the sexual energy from the root chakra, from the sacral plexus up into the brain. And that's having the nitric oxide increase along with increased carbon dioxide. When carbon dioxide builds up, nitric oxide builds up. And then when I squeeze that gives me the highest chances for the DMT experience. That's a whole masterclass. Don't do that if you're driving your car right now.
Love it. All right. So I'm going to read you this poem. The reason is because this poem really explains really well what I was talking about. It just kind of summarizes it. What what it means to like write from flow, or for somebody, you know, like to dance from flow. So typically when I write poems, if I were to quantify it, I would say it's 50% from my brain, 50% from like my heart and my body. So I call that heart-mind coherence, or heart-brain coherence. But this time I did an experiment. I wrote this poem, if I were to quantify it, like 10% brain and 90% like energy. I don't know. It was hard. I was like, I want to try and write this without thinking at all. I wanted to have like minimal effort coming from the brain power, because I was actually kind of tired, and I was in the bath when I wrote it too. I guess I was feeling like the water energy, and I was just feeling so flowy. I'm like, I don't want to think, but I do have a sense of inspiration to write, but I didn't want to think. So this was me writing it basically from my body. And that's why I called it channeling. So here we go. So channeling. Thoughtless, empty mind, allowing, letting the big mind come through. What wants to emerge, not through my small mind, my brain, but through my body, my whole being, this vessel, feeling stuck when I get into the head, feeling more flow when I relax and let go. What wants to be said is on the tip of my tongue, yet I can't quite pinpoint what wisdom wants me to express, what I want to say. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's not, and that's okay. I crave this feeling of inspiration, of divine connection, the sense of an energetic wave moving through me, frequency, vibration, effortlessness, that inner guidance turned on, tapped in, aligned. Yes, aligned. Is making me cry. Alignment, that's it. Openness, release of the ego, free flow, collective consciousness, no separation, no illusion, just unity, the cosmos, one big intrinsic web, the cosmic soup, as they say. I could write for infinity, the source is bottomless, but I'll stop because I have to sleep. So,
Hold on one second.
That was beautiful.
Yes, and I'm going to have you do that again, actually, and we're going to breathe with you. So you have the ability to actually orchestrate as the maestro using the words. So while she is speaking, just exhale. And then Magdalena, I invite you to go like 30% slower, like really dance.
Sure.
Dance on the words.
Dance your poem.
And then really use the breath through the belly button, the dantian, like speak from the belly button, and then use the breath as the mover in between the words. So when you breathe in, we're all going to breathe in with you. And what this does is it dilates time and increases more flow in the space between. So just slow down and it like dilate the space, and we'll do this with you.
Sure. And I just wanted to say, you know, why this is actually like a few times I read it to myself and it made me cry. And you know what this shows? That it wasn't like written by me. It's like the source energy wanted to give me a message and maybe others a message. But it's like, I feel like God is speaking to me when I read this poem. And that's why it feels like it's, you know, like not mine. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So what happens when we're in this
your genius.
state? So like as one of my flow languages is through breath and squeezing and Tai Chi. Right? The written word, and you're singing as part of that, and the dancing. And so I just invite you, as you experience this, like we're doing this together. So as Magdalena and I and Dr. Jake are in our flow states, kind of like a contact flow, not a contact high, but a contact flow. Just this channel's opening to you too. And so we're going to ride this heart swell together. That's my invitation for you listening in this. So without further ado.
All right. Channeling. Thoughtless, empty mind, allowing, letting the big mind come through. What wants to emerge, not through my small mind or my brain, but through my body, my whole being, this vessel. Feeling stuck when I get into the head, feeling more flow when I relax and let go. What wants to be said is on the tip of my tongue, yet I can't quite pinpoint what wisdom wants me to express, what it wants me to say. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's not, and that's okay. I crave this feeling of inspiration,
Mm.
Yes,
Beautiful.
the love. I feel it. I crave this feeling of inspiration, of divine connection, the sense of an energetic wave moving through me, frequency, vibration, effortlessness, that inner guidance turned on, tapped in, aligned. Yes, aligned, alignment, that's it. Openness, release of the ego, free flow, collective consciousness, no separation, no illusion, just unity, the cosmos, one big intrinsic web, the cosmic soup, as they say. I could write for infinity. The source is bottomless, but I'll stop because I have to sleep. With a
Deep breath.
laughing emoji at the end.
Deep breath in, everybody. So breathe in together. Hold at the top. Just float like a hot air balloon. And just slowly let it out. Shh. That was brilliant.
When I
Beautiful.
tap into like source energy and like collective consciousness, I just can't help but feel love. And it's like tears of joy and appreciation. And I think that's what it is because God is love. So I'm tuning into that and I just really feel that. So thank you. I think that like helped me feel that even more. The holding the space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Yes.
so if we introduce poems into this, and just even really taking more time. So read a couple lines and then stop and then breathe it in and let it go. There's no like what we're doing is changing the way we read because it's not like an email where like let me get this out as fast as possible. We have all the time in the world and not chronos time. The Greeks are really great about marking. All right, cool. Sync our watches. We're going to be here right at 1500. You know, as opposed to kairos. It's like the timelessness.
Mm.
And so the more space I can take in
And then
between,
sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, Brian.
the more space I can acknowledge and hold with nothing. And then nothing, the more it dilates. So we can even go slower with the
Yeah.
poetry. I do this with trauma work. So people write their story like the day I asked for my divorce. My
Mm.
coach had me go through this, Mark England, and he had me rep it while I was walking in nature. It was really powerful experience. And I got to rewrite it. I got to rewrite the story, but it was the first time I did it, there was a lot of hurt that had to come out. And then by slowing down of 60% speed and really using the breath for every end of the line, every comma, every period. So if you're doing morning pages and you're like writing out your fears and your insecurities and your unworthiness and those things, and you read it out loud and pause and breathe with each period, comma, or next line, it completely changes. It completely changes. Your voice is the number one thing that the subconscious mind responds to, your own voice. And there's a lot of exercises that we can do with recording messages before sleep from your future self and becoming that new identity.
Hmm.
So it's like sound, but it's yours. And we can even get into unlocking, the hidden DNA strands. And the sound is the number one way to do that.
I used to record myself like I created my own hypnotic tapes where I would record myself with like affirmations and I would listen to it and I loved it. Yeah. Dr.
There
J,
you
go
go.
ahead.
Uh,
It's powerful.
oh, I've done that with flute, but these were just really long, super long notes, like 20-second notes. But you mentioned this time thing, and time dilation or compression is part of flow states, and we're not going to get overly technical here, but a lot of the neurology is being mapped out in this, and certain parts of the brain that we use to tell time, chronos, as Brian said, the Greek word, are down regulated. So in terms of our hardware, it increases our RAM capacity, to use another term Brian used at the beginning of the call, for the hardware, for the mind to be open to other things. And so there are a number of features of flow, but one of them is a change in our sensation of time. The other one is our change in our sense of self, which is why this love can come into play, because The separate self is not in love. The separate self is in fear. But when we see that we are interconnected, the other things about flow, which make it really good for our culture, is that it's enjoyable. So it's not a hard thing, and flow begets flow. It reinforces itself, and the universe becomes richer. The sensation of the world, even though our attention is narrowing in a certain sense, there's a richness or an increased pixelation of selflessness, uh, time changes, enjoyment and richness are neurologic features, and they're our birthright as humans. We were made to do this.
Yes, you're right. We were made to do this. And I love what you said in the beginning that, like before the industrial revolution and agricultural revolution, like when we lived one with nature, like we were always in the state of flow is how I imagine it, because we were just connected to ourselves. And yeah, we didn't have all these distractions of technology and processed foods and million other things that are currently in our society.
You I love that. And Dr. Jake, as you were going through that, just a checklist of flow. Well, it's timelessness. That's the first thing I ever learned about flow was timelessness. And like it drives my partner, Yael, crazy. She's like, "What happened to you?" I'm like, "Oh, I sailed the boat for 3 minutes." No, that was 45.
It's like the surfer that goes out and says to his boyfriend, her boyfriend, or his girlfriend, "I'll be back in an hour." And then 3 hours later, you get out of the water and you have a pissed off partner because where the F were you? I've been sitting here waiting for you. And that you were so inconsiderate, but it didn't feel like 3 hours passed. I
No,
thought that was
no.
like more like 45 minutes.
I cut my session short. I would go longer, actually. And why am I?
I
Yeah.
cut that session short.
So then the next one is selflessness, and for a long time, the intention behind things really changed the game for me. And so I would surf to try to prove that I was a waterman, that I was cool, that I was accomplished in the water.
Mhm.
And
Mhm. Mhm.
I had this mushroom journey near Indian Cove, where it was like hard. It was like a 6 foot kind of crappy day, cold. So on my stand up paddleboard, and I got my ass handed to me for an hour. I slugged it out for an hour. And I finally like turned tail, went in. My buddy Alex had quit 30 minutes before that because it wasn't flowy. He made a fire, I had some mushrooms, and I went back out. And I laid on my stand up paddleboard. And it was a big day and it was windy, and I like felt so safe in it because I knew the water. I grew up in it. And Mother Nature just whispered in that moment, we could work together here. I'm like, wait, what? She's like, look, I made these waves for you, like 6,000 miles, and I want you to just dance on my face. I didn't fall off the board a single time. It was effortless to get out. And it went from a selfish thing where I needed to nurture my soul, but like it's selflessness now. Like I'm dancing with nature, and I get to receive these beautifully made waves, right? So timelessness, selflessness, and then I didn't have to grind anymore. It's the efforting. And now
It's amazing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
one more line, and then the floor is yours, guys. And I love how excited we all are in this. We just need to take a breath after each person talks. And what I'm realizing now, the fourth thing of flow is it's meaningful. And so the meaningful mythos coming back to the fire after charging into nature. I learned a lot that day. I remembered a lot.
And we do have to wrap up in 2 minutes ish, like
Eh,
just so we don't go on. But
we
yeah.
were
Wrap it up.
we were,
Go ahead. You close it up, Magdalena.
No. You go ahead, Dr. Jake. You were going to say something.
Oh, I don't know that I have much to add to this other than second was not worst. I think we had a much richer experience this time than the last time. So as a team, we're flowing.
We are.
I just want to do a quick little recap.
Yes.
We covered a lot today, right? So hopefully this was an enjoyable session for you as it is for us. You guys can tell how excited we are to share our treasures in this virtual show and tell. Everything I needed to learn in life, I learned in kindergarten. And so we talked about some frequency stuff, being in different levels of frequency. and how if I'm like in gratitude or I'm being acknowledged for something awesome that I did, just how much richness comes through. How can I change the focus to zooming in on the tree on the outside, zooming out, taking everything in? Another way to get in the flow. I really, really enjoyed the spontaneity. We're doing this on purpose. So there's a lot less structure. I like having more structure with my presentations and those things. We're not doing that on purpose. So when Magdalena was like, what are we talking about? This is the difference between like good coaching and like world-class facilitation is being present in what's coming through for the three of us. But we're also connected to you through the breath and the poetry and the music. And I loved Dr. Jake. Thank you for bringing your flute. I don't know how that sounded for the audience, but
That was not planned at all.
yeah. So that has a huge place for that here. The channeling, free writing, doing morning pages, those types of things. If you decide you want to do that, that's a great way to get into flow and understanding your energetic gifts. It's gonna feel like you're making it up at first, and that's perfectly normal. Keep going. And then we're hardwired. We're hardwired for flow, right? So dancing in the sun by the fire, nitric oxide through singing. Like there are chemical rewards in our body that we can leverage to be more in flow. So whenever else is freaking out, oh, I can start to hum. I can start to breathe. I can change my posture. I can zoom in on this beautiful flower. Oh, I'm now in the chatter. The chatter's gone. So, and then finally, just notice the next time when you lost track of time. Maybe think back to the last time you lost track of time. So timelessness. It's about immersing in the beauty of all of it. The selflessness, the effortlessness of that, and now the meaning. Report back on the meaning that you're finding. And maybe the best way to say thank you to the creator is to enjoy creation. So I enjoyed being here with you guys. Thank you for entertaining my perspective as we change your perception of flow and how you can apply that. Anything else you guys want to share?
Yes, perfect
Of course
timing.
you do.
111 here.
Boom.
Alignment. I did want to say that we're doing these flow state Saturdays every Saturday on all the different social media platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube is where you can find us. It's at noon Mountain Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we are in the works of creating a flow state community where you'll get to join and learn with us and practice with us and get into flow state with us on a regular weekly basis. So if you would like to be on the wait list or you want more information about it, just enter the word flow in the chat, or you can message either one of us with the word flow and we'll keep you in the loop. That's it. Thank you, guys. That was really fun.
That's it. Thanks for playing. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. There'll be shorter clips coming out on all your favorite channels.
Okay.
And reach out. We're doing
Brian,
this together.
One request, if you would, when you do the LinkedIn, would you please put our ats up in with the general description? I think that will pull in more people from our channel. Plus, it gives us exposure. That would be one ask. And I thought we did great today.